What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. I know we're coming up on finalizing our final interviews for our general manager candidates. There's a name I'm really hoping makes it to this list because I think he is one of the top qualified candidates, even though we just recently interviewed him in Commanders assistant general manager Lance Newmark. I'm thoroughly intrigued with him after being able to check him out, not just his background, his experience, all of the different pots he's had his hands in, his come up, which I think is a huge aspect to this, the overlap with some of the top potential candidates that could become our next head coach, as well as what kind of potential vision he can have for this team here, as well as some of the connective tissue even with the Jets, right? There's a lot of different things that actually play into Lance Newmark's favor here. So one of the things I want to kick it off with is the fact that Albert Breer mentioned in his article, Newmark did really well on his interview. I don't know how that compares to Borgonzi or any of the other GMs we interviewed, for example, but if it's me, I'm ranking Borgonzi at the top, which I think pretty much everybody unequivocally has him as. But in that second tier, I put Lance Newmark pretty high on that list, right? And to me, he's even leapfrogged Chris Spielman, for example, here. So where it all starts off is a little bit of the background. So he grooms himself with the Chargers. He works under legendary Hall of Fame general manager Bobby Beathard. Then he moves to Detroit, where he spent 26 years moving up the ladder, working, developing, progressing the skills, looking at all of these different situations. And what I really love is the Detroit Lions have objectively been a very bad team for a very long time, right? And so when you come from seeing the worst of the worst and you stick through it and you're persistent and you're consistent and you're slowly chipping away and figuring out ways to get things fixed and evolve and problem solve and all these different things, you get a whole different skill set and ability and outlook on things than guys that have maybe been middle of the pack or average or even have been at some of these affluent, highly successful franchises. So I love that aspect. And then you get to see him actually be a significant part of the turnaround in Detroit, where he has the connective tissue with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and all these other guys from 2021 to 2023, where he finishes out as senior director of player personnel for Detroit. Then he goes to the Washington Commanders. He gets lured over with the new title of assistant general manager, and he sees an immediate turnaround with the Commanders. A rookie quarterback, new staff in place, new ownership. Things are up in the air, right? If you ever worked for a startup, I would imagine these same kind of vibes, although it's, a working NFL operation that has some things in place. You're going to want to run things your way there. And I love it, right? You're talking about a Commanders team that has been at the bottom of the barrel, worst NFC East team arguably in the last decade or so, even though they've won 2 or 3 division titles over the last decade, which is a leg up from the Jets, where I can't remember, but I feel like we haven't won the division since like 2002. So they're even slightly doing better than us, right, from a wins standpoint, or an ability to at least succeed in, some of those short windows. But ultimately, what I'm getting at here is he's been around some laughingstock organizations, and he's been able to be a significant part of seeing them return to a respectable level of success. And in some of these cases, the Lions and now the Commanders, potentially feared franchises, right? So I am absolutely in awe of it. You also recall, for those that would have paid attention to our last GM search, he interviewed in 2019 where Joe Douglas ultimately won the job. But, it just goes to show me that people recognize his talents years ago, right? And so it's just kind of that perfect timing, perfect opportunity, perfect situation type energy here. But I think we're finally finding it. He's leapfrogged Chris Spielman, in my opinion, in terms of a guy that I would love to see paired with Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is a guy that's multifaceted himself, right? And I also love the fact that he just spoke about him being a coach in general and not just a defensive coach. He spent considerable time working on understanding the offensive side of the ball, being familiar with special teams, stuff like that. So when I look at Aaron Glenn, defensive coach, understands offense, understands how to, get a well-functioned team together, a leader of men, has worked in front office, has done scouting. You pair that with a guy like Lance Newmark, who has a similar kind of multifaceted skill set, right? Working up through scouting, seeing two huge turnarounds for two major franchises. These are two guys that I think can get together and really bring out the best and the most of not just each other, but many others within the organization that may have some strong skill sets we haven't necessarily let shine, right? Newmark's job would be able to get those guys in place, those women and men, get them in the roles, get them in the places where we can see the most amount of impact from them, right? So I'm really stoked to see if he actually makes this list. It's a guy that I'm really starting to get excited about. But let me know what you guys think. If you're familiar with Newmark, drop any details. Otherwise, let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. How do you feel about him? And who would kind of be your best pairing? I know it's a question I put out there a few times, but if you have a finalist list in mind that you expect to see, let me know who feels like the best fit with Aaron Glenn. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.